economic conditions are currently worse than during the Lehman crisis. So today we will discuss how nations are scrambling to prevent a global economic collapse. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. I have so much news to cover today. I don't know how I'm going to get to it all, but I'm going to try to keep this short and brief, and you can get into the articles deeper for yourself should you choose to. The one thing that I am waiting for, and I know that you are as well, is an interest rate increase, or at least will they ever do that? So this article here is actually very telling. This is out of CNBC, and it actually discusses what happened during the previous times that the Federal Reserve increased the interest rates. Things didn't look so bright the 3 months after the rate hike. So what they suggest here is that immediately following the rate hike, things are all fine for the most part. But then during this 3-month period, we see it starting to wane. Why? Because the initial action has been taking place. The market is trying to readjust accordingly, but it knows specifically that low interest rates are the way to go. So this is exactly what will happen in the future. We can expect this as soon as the Federal Reserve increases the interest rates. We know where this is going, and I've gotten to it before, so I'd like to move on, but this is one of the articles you want to check out if you're interested in that type of information. Now, obviously, Greece is really the centerpiece at the moment. They are extremely indebted. They are cash-strapped. The people are heavily unemployed, and we know the situation there, how bad it's getting. I've been covering it here, and you've been hearing about it all in the news. And this right here is talking about the ECB. Mario Draghi said it was urgent to resolve the current dispute between Greece and its creditors. He said that while the international finance system has been strengthened during the 2008 crisis, so right there, he just tells a bold lie, because that's the way that they do this. They always say right in front of your face the complete lies, because if they continue to tell you this with enough sincerity in their voice, this will become propaganda and it will get spread around the masses. He also said that a Greek default would still put the global economy into, quote, uncharted waters, with its effect hard to estimate. And this is where the dominoes falling, something that I've talked about before, would obviously occur. If one country falls, they may not be able to stop this. At least initially, the markets will overreact to this action. Draghi told reporters that he did not even want to contemplate the chance of a Greece default on its debt, but the French finance minister said that he thought any damage would be confined to Greece because the Eurozone countries had established measures to protect themselves from any spillover effects. They also said that they had this sort of protections in place in 2011. That was not the case. They also said that they had this in place prior to the financial crisis, prior to the dot-com boom, prior to the crash in 87, and so on and so forth. Every single time they say they have these precautions that they've made, they assure us that they all are constantly doing these banking stress tests, but it doesn't do anything, because whenever there is some sort of negativity, it always gets an overreaction, and the markets will definitely see that right away, and then they will begin to find sort of a happy medium in between that. This is historical information, historical data that you can look up yourself. This is a lot of the Greek information in this article right here out of the AP. I would definitely recommend reading it if you want to know what's going on in Greece, but I need to move on because I have been getting into this a lot recently. Getting tough on the Greeks. This article is out of the Telegraph. In a leaked memo seen last month, it was revealed that the Finns had already drawn up contingency plans for a Greek exit from the euro. This is a very interesting article. We're talking about how Finland could tear apart the euro project. And all of the subscribers from Finland, I want to say hello to you all. I'm constantly getting emails from individuals from Finland, so hello to you. Although ostensibly a sensible measure for any finance ministry to contemplate, the document confirmed the Finns' position as the most uncompromising of the EU's creditor nations. This is interesting to show us exactly what happens here when you have the one interest rate, one currency. You have a very vast real disparity, I should say, that has been formed since the beginning of the creation of the euro, but now it is so evident because you have particular countries who are creditors and there are others who are debtors, and this is a problem that pulls down the creditors, and ultimately if they default on that debt that they've been handing out, we're going to have a big problem that's going to lead into these other economies that were once stronger. You have to figure that a lot of these countries own the debt of these countries that are more poor, and this is going to be a problem if they don't get the bailout that they certainly need. I'm going to move on to this right here. Once again, we're talking about Greece, and this is out of the Times. Greek debt costs leaped yesterday as the French central bank warned that the banking sector in Athens is on the verge of collapse. Now remember that this isn't David Quintero saying this. This isn't the Money GPS saying this. This is the French central bank talking about collapse. This isn't fear mongering. This isn't any of this other garbage that I continue to hear out there. We're looking at the French central bank actually saying the words being on the verge of collapse. So when we write this type of information in our videos, if we talk to our friends or family or to other people through YouTube or media or whatever have you, realize that there are high-level individuals talking about this in the exact same way that we are. Yes, they're few and far between, but I assure you that they are out there. Let's move on to this here. The Greek government has ordered a mandatory transfer of cash reserves from state-owned enterprises to its central bank in a desperate bid to gather enough cash to remain solvent. We have a very desperate scenario that is being unfolding right now in front of our very eyes, citing extremely urgent and unforeseen needs. Of course, no matter what the crisis, it's always unforeseen. The government issued the emergency decree, which will apply to all local government bodies immediately. So this right here, we're looking at a degeneration every passing day, as they say, and I totally agree with that. And they're calculating that the government coffers will run dry in a matter of weeks. They can always receive more funding from other countries, but ultimately not fixing the issues that they have in the first place. See, this is just finding out a way to pay the next bill. They're no different than any other individual that is in poverty. They don't really have a choice. I can understand this new government coming in definitely has a predicament on their hands, but in many ways, the best option for them would be a default to their creditors and essentially pay back their own people, just leave the Eurozone. But I really don't think that this is going to happen, at least in an organized fashion. This is going to be a very big mess. We could have dominoes falling here. We could have the Euro viral contagion that I've talked about before. I've talked about it in my book, and this is another issue that is all connected in with this. And I'm quoting The Dollar Crisis by Richard Duncan, an excellent book. If you've read Mike Maloney's work, then you may also like Richard Duncan's. Social Security is an unfunded pension scheme. He goes on to say that if a private company did this, it would be illegal, but because it's the government, it isn't a crime. They are manipulating all of the statistics and the indicators that we try to use, and of course, making their numbers seem more rosy. So if the conditions are actually worse than what they're telling us, just look at the numbers we've seen out of Greece, how much debt they're in, and what exactly is going to happen, what's going to save them at this point. And the fact is that there is no salvation for them. This is, sort of connected in with this. Iraq will seek $5 billion bond issue, other measures to relieve the budget. So they're going to actually issue $5 billion here, and they want to obviously spur their economy. They need to make some cash. who's going to bail them out? Well, we know ultimately that the West will be there to bail out their friends in Iraq. They want that country to be under their control, and assuredly they will do this. So who exactly is buying up those bonds? When I say the West, we're talking about the taxpayers. The taxpayers in the Western countries are the ones who are going to have to buy this up. And that is very sad to see that this is all being done by design. We have a collapse scenario, whether it's through war or it's an economic collapse, and then the taxpayers are always there to foot the bill. This here out of CNBC, even wealthier Americans are struggling to save enough for retirement. So they consider this wealthy, but hang on for just a moment. The report found that even among households of income of $75,000 or more, roughly a third live paycheck to paycheck at least some of the time. So right here, this is very interesting, and this is the reason why I mentioned this, is that you're considered wealthy if your household makes $75,000 a year. And this is the new paradigm that people need to understand, is that poverty is the new normal. This is what's being done to people out there, where you used to have one job in the household, being able to provide for everyone with perhaps even 2 cars, a 4 bedroom house in a nice area, and you didn't have to work as many hours as you did before, perhaps. There was much better situation than it is today. But now, according to this, $75,000 is now wealthy for a household. Times are certainly changing. Let's move on to this here, where we have unemployment drop due to people leaving the workforce. You can see these type of statistics. Particularly the best I would suggest is at the Shadow Stats website. I'm sure you know about them. And essentially what we have here is a situation where they provide us with the U3 number in the US. That is the unemployment rate that gets projected out through the mainstream media. But if you look at the U6 number, which is also calculated by the government, you will find a much different number, and you see how it is above 10%. This goes to show you that it's a lot different. In fact, practically double the amount of what the government is projecting to us. So then you really show this to other countries around the world, and you see the same conditions are occurring. They play with the numbers. They need to do this. Look at the GDP statistics in Europe. I've gone over that 100 times before. This last but not least right here is, once again, I just want to conclude with this type of information. And we know that the economy is hurting terribly at this point. This is all around the world. So what solutions are they putting in place? What are they doing in order to accumulate more wealth for the citizens, for the cities, states, provincial, municipal, anything, at any level? What are they doing? Well, right here, this is really what it gets down to, and this is really, really upsetting because this continues to happen. You could see it. You might have been involved in this. But right here, we're talking about the quotas that the police officers have. I can tell my supervisors that I took 3 people to the hospital and I saved their lives, that the child that I helped deliver is healthy. I can tell them that, but that's not going to cut it. He said they encountered this unwritten rule that officers are expected to bring in 20 and 1. That's 20 tickets and 1 arrest per month. But it was tough to get anyone outside the department to believe him because NYPD officials would always deny that there were any quotas, and they still do. Now, I'm sure it's not necessarily official anywhere that they have to do 20 and 1, but it's sort of an unwritten rule. That's their expectations. And this is the way it goes in many other businesses, in fact, where if you look in the financial industry, where individuals have to bring in a certain amount of their sales, they have to sell particular funds, and this is what really happens, and it's unfortunate because that might not be in your best interests. So just to keep on this right here, we have a system that, people get into the police force and they want to help people. A lot of them truly got into it because they want to help the public, to serve and protect. But of course, really at the higher levels, they are really being pushed down in many ways. I can see this happening. You can see the quotas that are being taken place. You can see how they are there in most cases for revenue generation. They are not there in order to serve and protect. This is just one example. What about how they close all the lemonade stands? What exactly are they doing? They're just clamping down on the public. They want to do so in every way, shape, or form. CCTV cameras going up everywhere. They want breathalyzers in the car. They want, quote, gunshot detectors on every street corner. You have red light cameras. You have everything going on, and this is not going to change. It's only getting worse. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that very much. Don't forget to become a subscriber on the YouTube channel if you're not already. Soon we will be heading towards 20,000 subscribers. This is an extremely fast growing channel, and that is specifically thanks to you. Every time you share, every time you give a thumbs up, it helps to boost this up to the top. And what does that do? That helps the truth get out there. See, if you're thinking, I don't want to tell my friends and family about this information, you know, I'm not really into that. Well, when you boost up others who are doing so, you are really fueling them. And this is what goes to show you how easy this can be done. Share it in which way you can. Give it a thumbs up, a comment. Try and do what you can in your own way to prepare for yourself and your family, and that will rise everyone up. Last but not least, don't forget to become an insider. It's where I give out all my best intel for free, and that is available at themoneygps.com. All you have to do is scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info. And if you're still here at the end of the video, just a little tidbit for you that next week I will be doing an interview with X22 Report. So stay tuned for that. We are going to connect and bring you an interview soon. Take care.